with CLG's Rush Hour bot lane.
I am down here. There was a bit of traffic to get over, but I am joined by Doublelift and Afromoo. What a win they just had in a best of 3. I gotta say, gentlemen, a lot of the community was saying that CLG was still kind of faltering. It wasn't gonna happen. But Doublelift, you came in, the team came in with an abundance of confidence. Where did that come from at the end of the season?
Well, normally when we have our slump in the regular split, we just kind of like fall apart and we don't really know what our identity is, like what our strategies we should run, where our strengths are, weaknesses, stuff like that. But this split, I guess everything just clicked together, and if you work at something again and again and again and again, eventually it'll just work out if you put the work in.
Well, it definitely seemed to work out through the game. Afromoo, if you could say you were really proud of something that the team did throughout this series, or the entire series, what would you say it would be?
I'm really happy that Darshan, Eugene, and Jake played really well. They had a great trio in the top side of the map and definitely shut down Impact, Rush, and Gate. So I'm really proud of our teammates. I'm proud of you, man. Don't worry.
Oh, thanks, Steve.
There you go. There you go. It can't be a Rush Hour bot lane with no love. Looking forward to Madison Square Garden now. You guys have locked yourself in for that and the regionals after, depending on the results. How are you feeling about those matches? Team Liquid, TSM to come up, and even who you face?
I don't personally care, and I don't think anyone on the team cares. We have to beat everyone in NA if we want to be, obviously, the first place, and that's what we're going for. I think this is our split.
All right, well, congratulations to both of you. Thank you for taking the time after a quick win to speak with me. I'm going to let you guys go do your thing now. Right now, we're going to throw it back to the caster desk.
Thank you very much, Riv. Didn't lie to us this time. I appreciate that. Honestly, CLG 3-0. They've won so many games now on the back half of this split, on the trip to Worlds. What a good time to peak. And as Doublelift said, yeah, this might be the season for CLG.
Yeah, so many improvements to talk about. But Smithy on this Echo wasn't really pushed, right?
Yeah.
He got to continue to stay on this champion. Really, really well performing for him. We'll definitely see how he matches up. But Rush, theoretically, would be his biggest test to go head-to-head to as far as single jungle matchups, and he performed admirably.
What is somewhat disappointing about this series, while CLG absolutely deserves the win, is that Team Impulse never really challenged them, right? Not just the Echo, but Pobelter's pool wasn't really attacked. They banned Doublelift 280 carries, but that was the minimalist of challenge. They never changed their overall style. Team Impulse just seemed to go for the same plays back again and again. They weren't creative, and eventually CLG just evolved a little bit and continued to win.
We have seen, flexibility in the regular season from Impulse, at times, thinking that they would draw more from that. But it just wasn't here for the series.
Yeah, and the thing is, generally speaking, I'm okay with the team running the same team comp over again or changing it up. But the big thing I think is I definitely want to see bans change around, and the fact that they added a Doublelift ban here, but they never really changed much, right? They never said, okay, let's just make a comp that's good at killing the front line, and actually stuck to it. When they banned away Alistar or took away Alistar, they were still only playing one threat. If there's any game to give away Alistar, it's a game where you have Vayne who can kill him anyway. But when you've got a Kog'Maw and a Victu who are going to crush through the front line, that's the game they give away Alistar. That's the game where they're inconsistent with their pick and ban strategy, and it was just so strange. It felt Impulse were a little bit lost there. Unfortunately, they couldn't pull it out there. CLG with a well-deserved 3-0. And for more on Impulse's day on the Rift, I'm going to throw it down once again to Riv.
Thanks, guys. Made my way over to Impulse's side to chat with Apollo. A very tough game versus Counter Logic going into it. How are you feeling approaching this day? How is the team feeling going into the game, Apollo?
Actually, we're feeling pretty good just because our scrims are going well against the teams that we're facing, which is a little bit off because we usually don't do well in scrims. So maybe it was I just had to do something with that. But I think we thought we would do a lot better, but then they were just a really strong team and they were well prepared.
The reverse results from scrims. It seems like a lot of teams get plagued with that. Coming into this game, you guys were looking great at the end of the season. An unfortunate switch had to come in. How did this affect the team's scrims in best of fives, or even the chance to get a best of five scrim with Gate in there?
I mean, it took a lot of getting used to just because he's an amateur player, and so he might have nerves or just not as comfortable with best of fives. But it's just nothing we can really do about it. We just practiced really hard, and in the end, I think it was just a better fit for our team. But we just maybe need a little more time. That's all.
Oh, you guys can still breathe life into your chances. The North American Regional Qualifier coming up. How do you guys feel you're going to do in that? Time to practice here.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, yeah, just a lot of practice. I don't know. We thought we would do well today, so we'll see. Like, just more practice, that's all.
No, not a problem. There's time to do that. We look forward to seeing you in New York, and best of luck. Now we're going to throw it over to the Analyst desk to break down the rest of the day.
Thank you, Riv. Now, gentlemen, I do have to call back to the beginning of the day where both of you were looking at this series to go in favor of Team Impulse. So I have to imagine it's come as somewhat of a surprise that CLG 3-0'd the victory above all of that.
Yeah, CLG came out with incredible strategies that they were just able to perform on over and over again. And it's not just champion picks, right? They just stuck to their formula. They didn't overthink themselves. But every level 1 was actually really good. In Game 3, they stopped the saplings. They denied the red buff from Rush. Game 1, you saw what ended up happening, not level 1, but early game, was they got that kill onto Rush early on, and the first blood went over to Zion. And Rush was up in level, so you have the rubber band mechanic of experience. So when they killed him, it was a much larger lead. So I really liked CLG's early game strategies against TIP, and then they seem to have some mid-game, like the mid-game is the only thing that seems like it's a problem for them. Their late game seems to be cleaning up because they're capitalizing off mid-game mistakes, but their early game is definitely what CLG brought to the table here.
Yeah, you can tell they really had a solid game plan going in. They really didn't want to fight at all before 6. They knew Rush and TIP thrive on early skirmishes where Rush just runs away with the lead. And I may have just cursed TIP as well because I went against CLG and because last week I went against TIP and they sent me home early, and then today CLG sent me home early. So maybe it was pretty bad. Yeah, sorry TIP fans, but yeah, I think that's maybe what just happened.
Well, now to that end, I do want to look at Impulse because, as Jat said, he was somewhat disappointed to see them not challenge CLG, not expand their strategies as much, knowing that, hey, if you don't make it through this series, that's it for you in the playoffs. You would have expected them to maybe go a little bit further, push the envelope.
Yeah, if you're Liquid or TSM, you're sitting there going, they could have milked another strategy from them. They could have gotten more from them. So they're actually sitting in a really good spot, CLG. That is. But like just freaking Jat said, I'm disappointed that TIP in a BO5, it's not so much always about adapting yourself. It's also about forcing your opponents to adapt to you. So when you're banning new things, you're changing up your strategy, they're going to have to change theirs eventually if it stops working or stops working as effectively. And they didn't do that. So I feel like in that regard of a BO5, they fell flat. And that's why we see them going to the 3rd, 4th place match.
Yeah, the fact that Echo was played 3 times. The fact that Pobelter didn't really seem challenged. Zion didn't really seem challenged. It makes you wonder what would have happened. What does Xmithie go to second? And is he as effective on it, right?
They first picked the Echo game 1, so I'm just like, that's such a high priority.
It's clearly a very high priority.
And then they picked it over the Gragas in game 2. So I want to see what else he has because they picked that up so quickly, which tips off me in my head that those are probably his best 2 champions, and then his third champion is not very strong.
Yeah, unfortunately, the winner of the next semifinal tomorrow won't really have that much information against CLG, and I'm sure CLG is very happy with not only their performance, but that it was a clean 3-0. No, well, honestly not the most cleanest games, but yeah, it was a 3-0 sweep, and it was great for them.
Regardless, you have to imagine they're going to be rolling into the finals, their first finals ever, with a lot of confidence, having beaten them as well as they did, and as you just mentioned, not having to show too many strategies. They may have some more things up their sleeves that they can pull out and really surprise in the finals. Now, of course, the player that stole the show today, though, was Doublelift. We heard how much a win would mean to him, and he came out swinging today. He played fearlessly and helped carry his team into their first playoff finals.
His positioning in all these games, the 3rd one was actually one that was much harder because there was focus on him. But in games 1 and 2, the Tristana was absolutely devastating and a huge key to victory. Because they were putting so much on Apollo's shoulders, he had to counter position as Apollo goes right. He has to go left and keep this distance between them. Good auto spacing today.
Yeah, his positioning was phenomenal. His movement was even better, I'd say. I think the kill contribution is just ridiculous of what he provides to his team. You don't really see that many ADCs rotating around for kills. You usually see them rotating for mostly turrets nowadays, but yeah, he's just playing great.
Oh, yeah. And then let's not.
CS lead was huge.
I was about to say, let's not forget the farm. Just the most basic element of League of Legends, which is get the minion kills. And again, every time we'd look up, around that 25-minute mark, there was just a substantial
He was
CS
70 up
lead.
in that last game. It was ridiculous. They give so much farm into him, and that was something that people were like, oh, it's not as good of a strategy anymore. You want to have a really fed Azir, you want to have a really fed Victor, right, to clear these waves. But for CLG, it just seems to be working out for them, just putting more farm into Doublelift, because he had a really, really, really good day, and they didn't even have to play around him in terms of composition.
Well, with that win, we can fill out a little bit more of the bracket, so let's pull that up onto your screens. CounterLogic Gaming have secured their spot in the finals and will go for the gold next week in New York's historic Madison Square Garden. They'll face off against the winner of tomorrow's semifinal series between Team Liquid and TSM. Now, on the flip side, the only road left for Team Impulse to play at the World Championship is through the regional qualifier. So they will face the loser of tomorrow's semifinal and try to bank as many championship points as they can for seeding in that qualifier. Now, in addition to Team Liquid versus TSM, we'll start our semifinal coverage tomorrow with the European LCS battle between the #1 seed Fnatic and the Unicorns of Love. It's always a barn burner when those two teams meet, and you won't want to miss it. Our coverage starts at 8 a.m. Pacific, which is 5 p.m. for our friends in the Central European time zone. Of course, then we'll come back over here for our series. Getting your thoughts on tomorrow's series, especially yours, Kiwi, as you won't be around tomorrow. Team Liquid versus TSM. Liquid coming in as the favorite, being the #1 seed, but TSM looking pretty good coming off of their last series in the quarterfinals. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
I think Team Liquid should take it maybe 3-0 or 3-1. Unless they had some kind of internal turmoil in the past 2-3 weeks, yeah, the Liquid should take it because they have such a solid game plans all the time. They know how to play against almost every comp, it seems like. NA LCS as a whole was kind of outclassed by Team Liquid over the split, and it's just going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah. All right, Zyrian, now to your thoughts. Yeah, because yours matter as well.
Thank you. I echo Kiwi Kid's thoughts on that. I think it's going to be a very close set, 3-2. I do give it to Liquid on that edge. Okay. They've been preparing for the BO5s for a while now. They were talking about that was their focus at the end of the split, is focus on these BO5s. Question is pressure and experience against each other. Which team is going to come out on top? I think it's going to be extremely close because TSM looks like they have new strategies for the first time in a long time. So that's what's coming into this series, and I think TL has that little edge.
Yeah, both of those teams bloodthirsty, looking for that road to the final, that trip to the finals in Madison Square Garden. Well, now it's time to put on our learning caps for the world according to Kiwi Kid. Now, to remind everyone, earlier in the show, we asked for your Kiwi questions, and our first comes from Tweet Clash. Yellowstar's Trundle was a huge surprise. Do you have your own secret pick that you consider as hugely underestimated?
I feel like it's a little redundant if I say Trundle because Yellowstar already played it, but nobody has played in NA LCS yet, correct?
No, yeah.
So Trundle would be up there for me, but I want to go into like Leona again. I think against a lot of champions, she can break even in the lane, and with a great ult placement, you can carry a lot of fights. Of course, she scales off late, but in a competitive setting, you can actually play around your team with that, and Leona would probably be a champ that I really want to see that gets up again.
All right, well, we'll see if that does make an appearance in the next couple weeks. Next up, Cray Lamona Department says, do you miss the top lane days, or do you prefer being a professional support?
I don't really miss being a top laner. It just wasn't really as fun for me as it used to be, I think. And I really enjoy playing support now. I feel like I've learned a lot, and I'm actually still very, very confident in my ability, despite getting 3-0'd by TIP last week.
So would you rather be a professional top laner or on the analyst desk?
Yeah, on the analyst desk next to my buddies.
There it is. I like it. I like it. I actually do have one follow-up. Just out of curiosity, the transition from top to support, what was the biggest challenge in that transition?
Easily the biggest challenge is actually still, well, at first, it was probably lessening my deaths. I mean, I think I'm pretty infamous as being known as having the most deaths in a split. I don't know if I still have that award.
Did Nintendo take it from you?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll get confirmation on that.
Somebody took that from me. Come on, I want it back. So. I'll get it back next year. Don't worry, boys.
There you go. All right. Well, next up, Boredom X says, you are always smiling. How do you keep such a positive lifestyle?
I don't know how to say this. I want to be
can't answer it, but he can smile.
I want to be super truthfully. I just kind of don't let things affect me. And then the question goes from there, how do you not let things affect you? I just feel really lucky. I feel really grateful every day. I know I don't mean to like look down on others, but you know, I have a working body and everything. I feel really blessed, and I just, you know, as long as I can walk and I can think and I can sleep, like people have insomnia, people have a lot of other things, and yeah, I don't really, it sounds like I'm comparing myself to them, but really I'm not. I just really feel lucky, and I always feel just lucky walking in the world.
You're grateful and you savor what you have, even if it's the little things. I completely understand that. That's actually a very big key to being happy, is taking account of what you have, because people focus too much on what they don't have. They're like, I want that, but actually just introspecting and looking at those things.
Yeah.
Really
well,
good
it's
for
a fantastic
lifestyle.
mentality, and to be honest, it keeps you very humble, which is, I think, one of your best characteristics. Now, next up, Johannes Plem says, how is it to go from North American mastermind QtPie to Korean sensei Core JJ?
The best thing about Core JJ and QtPie, well, for Core JJ, is Core JJ doesn't play with the whip whenever we lane.
The truth comes out!
Yeah, like, it's not really fun getting hit by a cat of nine tails every time I lane with QtPie. So, you know, and it's funny because I took quite a beating having that many deaths before. But no, it was great. Core JJ is really patient with me, and before he was even in America, he was like, Kiwi, I'm going to make you the best support. And I don't know if that holds true. I don't know if I can say that for myself, but I definitely feel a tremendous amount better. And even though, you know, of course, there's a language barrier and we don't listen to, you know, Kanye or Kendrick together, but it's still really fun playing with Core, and he's always really happy. And I would say I think Core was a great, you know, for lack of a better replacement for QtPie. It definitely helped fill the void.
Well, it sounds like you guys have a great working relationship, and that's the most important thing towards improving as a duo. Now, finally, Shifter asks, hey, who picked out that jacket and shirt?
Yeah, thanks, Shifter. He stuck with me for 2 hours finding shirts. We had to go from like store to store because we couldn't actually find anything that kind of looked right. And honestly,
It looks
Shifter,
awesome.
Well, yeah, I was going to say,
It
you
looks
look
awesome.
damn good.
Yeah,
I know.
Right? That's all that matters.
I'm seeing you on the screens. I'm like, you look good on the screen too. That's actually really good because they don't always transition.
they don't
It's like,
always
it looks good in
translate.
person.
yeah,
but it looks
I was
good on
actually pretty
screen, too.
nervous, and
All right.
I haven't dressed up in 3 years because I actually had to buy this yesterday. So I really think thanks.
Well, yeah, I was
Danny.
going to say, I guess kudos to Shifter for his fashion
Yeah,
sense.
thanks, Mom.
All right, well, before we sign off, I want to extend a special thanks to our guest, Kiwi Kid. It was wonderful to have you on, sharing your insights. As short as the series was, once again, thank you very much.
Hey, thanks, Dash, and thanks, Irene, for joining me.
Glad to have you. Our pleasure. Hopefully soon, once
Thanks
again.
for having me, Kiwi.
Yeah, don't mention it,
Thank you,
don't
thank you,
mention
thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, now for myself, the casters, and the entire live broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.